And we're recording. Okay, so hi everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Sarah Mack. I'm a writer and mindset coach for creatives. I'm all about more fun, freedom, and money in your business. And so is my guest today, Helen Munshi from the Startup Studio. She is a business geek, a startup strategist, and a coach who's all about helping entrepreneurs set up their business, make it easy, and make it fun. So thank you so much for joining us today, Helen. Do you want to give us a little bit more information about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, hi Sarah, hi everyone. Thank you so much for having me in your group. I'm so excited. I love chatting money, everything to do with numbers and so on. As you said, I'm a total business geek, so this is like an hour of fun for me. So I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, as you said, so I run a business called the Startup Studio. So I focus on providing sort of strategy and strategy support for new and aspiring entrepreneurs. So for me, I always think that sort of success in business, so whatever you class success as, whether that's, financial, whether that's, a lifestyle, whether it's, contributing back, whatever success is, for me is all about vision, strategic action, and, kind of confidence or kind of mindset. And, I love to, when I work with my clients one-on-one, what I love to do is really look at those three elements. So the vision, strategic action, and mindset, and that's sort of essentially what I do. I've been doing it, gosh, I'm going to show my age now. I've been doing it for quite a while. I've been working in strategy for over a decade, and I've also been working with entrepreneurs one-on-one. I think I've supported something crazy, I worked it out, about 400 odd entrepreneurs, delivered kind of over 600 hours of startup training and so on. So it really is, it's kind of in my blood, it's my passion, it's what I love. So, a good day for me is being able to sit down, and support, coach my one-on-one clients to really launch their dream business, basically. And for me, there's nothing, I feel so privileged to be able to be part of that and be involved in that.
Amazing, amazing. Well, we're so grateful to have you sharing your expertise here in the Big Creative Fun community. And I'm so excited to ask you some questions and get stuck into the subject today, which is financial planning. Yes. And because obviously this is a really important part of business, and it's why we do it, to create that financial freedom and that success in whatever terms, whatever they look like for each individual person. So do you want to tell us a little bit about, what your clients come to you for help with when it comes to financial planning?
Yeah, so from my experience, everyone comes with different business ideas, different backgrounds, different skills, different knowledge, but the issues that they come to me with and the problems and the hurdles that they face really split down into sort of kind of a few key categories, and finance is kind of one of those. So really, first of all, a lot of them, they're all overwhelmed. I would say 99% of people that sort of approach me feel that real sense of deer in the headlights. Like, I've got this idea, but I'm overwhelmed. I don't know what to do. There's too much noise, too much information. And I'm sure that's something you probably find, with the clients that you work with as well. And overwhelm is just such a, what's the right word? To be in abundance and to launch a successful business, it's very hard to do that from a place of overwhelm. So I'd say that's probably the first thing that people come to me with. A lot of people will come to me and they say, I've got so many ideas, and they're contributing to their own overwhelm. So they're like, I've got 16 different ideas, and those ideas change and multiply on a daily basis. And that's part of being an entrepreneur, is that kind of spirit inside you where you see opportunity everywhere, but they need help to really focus down, get accountable, and narrow down onto what is the right business idea for them. So that's another area. And then the other one kind of falls into what I call the dreaded kind of what ifs. And I think we all have a lot of those in our life. And as an entrepreneur, we add a whole lot more on top of our what if pile, really. So it's about, what if I'm not successful? What if I can't make this work? What if I fail? What if I can't cope with the success or the pressure or the this or the that? And that, again, is about overwhelm. And the biggest what if, which comes up every time I talk to someone, is, what if I don't make enough money? What if I can't pay myself enough? What if I can't pay my bills? What if, I never earn a penny from this? What if I don't deserve to earn the money from this? The big, what if I can't even understand the numbers? I was no good at numbers at school. What if I can't deal with the numbers? So those I would say are probably the biggest areas that people come to me struggling with.
Yeah, and so much of that is mindset. And I've borrowed this word, which I actually picked up from one of my copy clients, which I absolutely love, called disasterizing. You know, when you're just going in that spiral of like, what if it all goes to shit? What if I can't pay my bills? What if I become a complete failure? And obviously that's all mindset work, and focusing on the story that you're telling yourself and starting to tell yourself the story of your success. But also obviously, totally, like creative overwhelm. Generally people who are starting a business, and especially a lot of people in this community who are, you know, taking their creative passions in a more entrepreneurial direction and really stepping up and taking it seriously and generating an income from their creative passions and skills. The financial part of that is often a weakness for creative people, because, you know, we're all ideas people, and you know, can get so wrapped up in the millions and millions of ideas. So having that support with the strategy and also bringing that creativity and focus and discipline that, you know, oftentimes creatives will have in their creative practice to the financial side of things too. That's when you create the recipe for success. And it's, you know, it's absolutely integral, no matter what you're pursuing, to be financially literate and organized.
So for me, I look at it all about, you have to be financially aware. So, you know, a lot of it is mindset, but a lot of those mindset issues are fed by the fact that you just haven't spent time to learn about the figures that underpin what you're doing. And actually you have to kind of combine the mindset work with the numbers and the spreadsheets and stuff to actually get a real, like, holistic approach to actually moving forward with your business and making money. And I think as well, especially at the start, when you're first sort of starting out, or you're leaving your job or whatever it might be, the pressure feels almost ramped up a little bit, because you're not only you losing your kind of financial stability. So if you're moving out of a job, or you're dropping some freelance work, or you're moving away from a different business that you were running successfully, but it didn't feed you and drive you and it wasn't your passion. So you're losing kind of the financial stability and what you've learned from that. But then you also then have to, when in that mindset, actually start investing in yourself. So you kind of have to put your money where your mouth is, really, and back yourself and your ideas and your skills by investing. Because no matter kind of how kind of frugal you are, and you know, ask my husband, I'm a very frugal person. You know, you will have to spend out some money to start, whether that's web hosting, or, you know, like a scheduler, or, you know, whatever it might be, even just a monthly Canva cost, you know, to do some design, whatever it is. And actually that can be quite scary. And to do that at a point when you feel financially a bit insecure and sort of a bit on, like, the kind of the ice skates, you know, you're on that kind of slippery kind of surface and you can't quite grab onto what you need to do, can be a real challenge. And I know for me, like I said, it was a big challenge for me at the start, actually. So, I mean, I left my job, I always forget, I think it's about 5 years ago now. I should have that date, like, imprinted on my brain. I left about 5 years ago to start, I run also a property business as well as my strategy business. And I had to really challenge myself on a daily basis to say, what do I need to actually spend my money on? Because if it was left to me, I'd probably just have it all stuffed under my bed. And, you know, that's kind of my mentality. I like to be able to see my money and be able to count it. It's kind of a Scrooge McDuck, as my husband calls me. It was an old cartoon with a guy who liked to swim in his money. So I probably need to come and talk to you a little bit about that and get some kind of help with the mindset side of it.
Get that money flowing.
I know, exactly. Because it is. It's, you know, in economics, I mean, I studied economics university. They talk about the money multiplier effect, which is a similar concept as you get in kind of money mindset as well, in that, you know, you have to keep the money flowing around the economy or flowing around your life or whatever it might be in order to generate more money. You know, you have to do that. And if you don't, then, you know, it's a lot harder to. But a lot of worry and all the what ifs and the financial instability, like we said, it comes from that kind of financial lack of awareness. But I mean, it's not all doom and gloom. It sounds horrendous, but, you know, the good news is, essentially, I don't think it's ever been easier or more available to be able to make money online doing something that you love. You know, I mean, when I was at school, we didn't start using computers till I was like 16. You know, I'm really old. It wasn't even there. So the thought of starting an online business when I was at school just wasn't even a concept. And now it's, you know, it's open to so many people, which I just think is kind of magical, really.
Yeah, it really is. It's amazing. But it's getting over that fear and getting into a situation where you are being smart and strategic and taking risks,
Yeah.
and investing in yourself and in your creativity and your ideas, because
Yeah.
I always like to say no one will invest in you until you do.
Yeah, so
You have to have 100% commitment and belief that what you're doing is worthwhile and that you'll make it succeed.
Yeah, it's that balance, isn't it? You've got to spend enough, but you've also got to not spend too much on the wrong areas, and it is a balancing act.
Yeah, and lots of mistakes too, as always in business.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so what do you see as some of the reasons why like entrepreneurs are wary about the financial side of running a business and really like going and taking those risks and putting their big dreams into action and making those investments?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that I think is down to mindset. So a lot of it is the fear of the unknown and the fear of making mistakes. People worry that, they have maybe a budget to start their business of, $1,000, $2,000, whatever it might be. And they're just so wary of making the wrong decisions that they often don't make any decisions. So it's kind of that procrastination by sort of fear of failure, which really kind of impacts on them. And yeah, from my experience, that can be a real kind of issue. And then the other kind of flip side of that is the spending on lots of different things, lots of different courses, the shiny objects, they're never kind of completing anything or implementing. It's like I said earlier, success is vision, consistent action and mindset. And a lot of people miss out the consistent action. So, they'll learn half of something, never quite implement it, learn half of something else, never quite implement it. And then they wonder why they're not successful. It's and people can kind of fluctuate, unfortunately, between the two as well. So you might spend on something and make a bit of a mistake. So then you hold on to your money and you don't spend anything on your business. And then you suddenly see something new that looks quite good and you feel like it's going to make you the money back. So then you go and do that. And then it's like being like at Vegas, where you're kind of chasing bad money after good, or whatever the phrase is. And you're trying to make up for making bad decisions, and then that means you make more bad decisions, etc., etc. So it's breaking out of that cycle and becoming aware of what areas of your business are your key, what are your key activities, what are your key drivers, and then spending your money in those areas.
Sounds like solid advice. So why don't we dive in a little bit into some more juicy details around financial planning? So do you want to tell us, what are the most important figures to know and understand in our business?
Yeah. So, gosh, it's like putting a chocoholic in a sweet shop and trying to get them to choose. I love this kind of stuff. It's hard to button it down, but I would say the first figure I always encourage people to start with is what I call your personal survival budget, or your wage, your income. What money do you need your business to make you as a minimum on a monthly basis? And then anything above that, you'll obviously be aiming higher than that and trying to attract more than that. But what is your baseline? Because it's often a lot lower than people think. And it's the fear of thinking, I need to earn $5,000 a month in order to survive in my current standard of life and situation, that gets people quite fearful. But actually, when they look at it, it's quite often a lot less than they think it's going to be. So, yeah, the main figure really is understanding what is your as-is situation. So how much money do you currently earn and spend, basically? So what is it that you're spending your money on? And then taking that figure and then looking at how much do I then need to earn as a minimum in a month in order to survive. And we're talking kind of like lean startup here. So we're not talking, abundance or anything like that. That comes, when you start making the money and you start realizing you can support yourself, then your confidence grows, then the money starts to flow easier, then you make more business decisions, etc., etc. So it's having that baseline. What's your lean startup figure? So your current spend, I often think, I know when I was in a job it was the same, often meets whatever income you've got coming in. So I know that whenever I got a pay rise, I wouldn't have any more left at the end of the month. My spending just kind of increased to meet my my new money amount, basically. So I would suggest the first thing to look at is make a list of all your expenses. We're talking personal here, so not business, we're talking just personal costs. check your bank accounts, check your checkbook. Do people use checkbooks anymore? I don't think so. Check your online accounts, check your PayPal. Literally write down, have a little notebook with you wherever you go, and write down from your receipts exactly how much you're spending every day. And then you can start putting them into categories. So you can have, food, you can have bills, rent, whatever categories make sense for you. Financial stuff's always got to make sense for you and your business. And then you'll have it in black and white, literally. This is how much I've spent for the last 2 months. So I can start seeing a bit of a trend and a bit of an average. And add it up. What is your overall spend? So when I did this, I discovered that actually I spent, I think it was something like £150. So I don't know, that's like $190 or $180 something on chocolate every year. So
that sounds like a solid investment to me.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there was nice things in there, the endorphins, all that kind of stuff. But when I'm faced with the cost of, say, my chocolate habit or being able to afford Squarespace for a year, you can start making offsets and thinking, what is it that I'm willing to cut down on? So once you've kind of got that list of figures and you've looked at that kind of those numbers, look at what am I willing to make for the next few months in order to be able to fund my business startup and to take the pressure off my business. Because that's essentially what we're trying to do, is cut down on the amount of money you have to take out of your business every month in order to pay yourself. So can you cut down on the magazines that you get? Can you cut out some of the online subscriptions that you might have? What areas can you cut down on without, you need some luxuries in life. If a gym membership's really important for your self-care and your happiness, and keep that. We're not talking about cutting down. It's just being aware of what you spend on and what you're willing to let go of, basically. And by letting go of stuff, you're creating room in your budget to then buy things into your business. So yeah, list out all your personal expenses. Then also have a little look at income that you might be earning from somewhere else. So if you've got some kind of freelance income coming in that you can rely on, or you've got some part-time work that you do, full-time work, money from a partner, whatever it might be, list that out. So then you basically have a total list of all your costs, total list of all your income, and then to work out your personal survival budget, your wage, you basically just take your income minus your costs, and that will give you how much you have to earn in your business every month. I've got a template, so if anyone wants that, I can give it to Sarah to get in touch with her or me. But it's a fairly simple figure, and the great thing about starting with this as well is that it is a simple figure. So it gets you starting to be comfortable with understanding your own money before you start looking at your business money as well.
Great. And then, so what's the next step from there?
Final thing to kind of bear in mind with it, really. So basically, once you've got that figure, it's just bearing in mind that it's this money, this survival budget that you'll be paying yourself personally is a cost to your business. So that's why when you start thinking about it like that, it's you have to be able to make enough sales in your business to be able to cover your wage or your personal survival budget and any other costs for your business and some profit. So when you start looking at it like that, and it starts looking at something that's taking money out of your business, it sometimes starts to get easier to start making sacrifices to kind of what you spend your money on. Yes, I mean, there's lots of kind of things you can use the figure for. So once you've got this number, and one of the things that a lot of people do is once they've done a number, they've calculated the number, they then don't do anything with it. Numbers are only useful if you actually kind of understand what they're telling you and the story that they're telling you. So you have to kind of look at, so I've got this number now, and I then use my figure personally to work out, if I felt the figure was really high, do I need to maybe think about bringing in some additional income? Can I up my freelance work? Can I get a part-time job? Can I sell some stuff on eBay? Whatever it might be, to bring in some extra income to take the pressure off my business. You might decide actually it's not as much as you thought it was going to be. So then you decide to maybe drop to part-time hours, or, rearrange your working hours so that you work 5 days but in a 4-day period, whatever it might be. And it just helps you to start making decisions about the future of your business.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So what are the other important figures that we need to be paying attention to on a consistent basis?
Yeah. There's a few. I don't want to sort of say that, I don't want to overwhelm for me, the crucial ones are essentially your survival budget that we talked about, making a conscious and good decision about how you price your product or service. So there's various different ways of pricing, and I've got a few blog posts on this on my website if people are interested. But rather than just kind of finger in the air, picking a price, actually making that decision based on what the market's telling you, what your competitors are doing, the costs in your business, that kind of thing. So pricing would be another kind of figure to look at. Then you've got your cash flow. So cash flow is essentially, it sounds kind of complicated, but it's really not. It's basically what flows into your business and out of your business on a monthly basis, essentially. Then you've got your sales and cost forecasts. So how many sales are you going to be making, how much they're going to cost for you to actually deliver those sales, and then like your everyday bookkeeping. So I'd say those are probably the main figures. If you can get a handle on all of those, I wouldn't suggest it all at once, but if you can get a handle on all of them at some point, then you've got a really, good financial sense of what your business is doing. But I would say that the biggest one out of all of those, after your survival budget, is your cash flow. That would be the one I would focus on next.
And what do you have any tips in terms of creating that consistent checking in with your finances? Like, is that something that you do every day at the beginning of the day, or what are some habits that we can focus on creating that are gonna make sure we're nurturing that relationship with our cash flow?
Yeah. So for me, it is, you hit it kind of the nail on the head. It is about a habit. The worst way to go about it is to leave it all to the last minute or let it mount up, because then it does become a very overwhelming task. So I would say set aside a set time every week to look at your figures. So that could be like the financial figures. It could be, I've got a whole spreadsheet of sort of stats in my business that I track to give me an idea of kind of how I'm doing and so on. But yeah, set aside it could just be half an hour where you look at your overall figures. The other thing I like to do, and I think I read this in Denise Duffield Thomas's book actually, every day I like to kind of make a note in my, I do like a journal at the end of the day and a list of things I'm grateful for and a list of things, moments in the day when I was mindful. So those are kind of my three things I try and do in the evening. But then I also now make a list of the money I've made. So it could be, it could be I've made a sale. It could be that I've made a savings. It could be that I got something for free or heavily discounted. And it's really just trying to open myself up to the fact that, money is more abundant than I probably think it is. And this is your kind of area. We're sort of straying into the money mindset sort of side of it. Is that something you kind of recommend?
Oh yeah, definitely. The tracking is one of the best strategies that you can use, because it's training your focus. So when you're training your mind to focus on, all of the money that's coming in, it's like you're programming it to want to bring more money in. It's going to be looking for more opportunities to bring more money in. Mm-hmm. And obviously it then feeds that feeling of abundance, and that there is enough and you are capable of creating the money that you need, rather than, which is our natural tendency and our negative bias to focus on what we don't have and all the problems that we need to solve, which is, obviously the source of all of our worries and the fears and the what ifs and what if I fail. So yeah, absolutely having that. I love that. And having a gratitude journal, and obviously that being present in the moment is when you're flipping out of those negative disasterizing stories and focusing on what you want to create, what you are creating, and really rewriting that story of certainty and trust in yourself to be able to produce the financial results that you want. Yeah,
absolutely. And for me, it did really revolutionize sort of the way I looked at money, because I was, so I said at the beginning, I run another company. So I run a business all around property. And I actually found that I was essentially discounting any penny that I made on my property business, because we reinvest it straight back into the business. And also, I have periods when I work incredibly hard on it, where I have a month or two where it's incredibly intense. And then I have periods where I maybe do like 2 hours a week on it. So it's really not consistent effort. And I found that the months when I wasn't actually having to put consistent effort into it, I didn't count the income at all until I started doing this, because you feel like one of my money mindset things, you feel like you have to work hard to earn your money. That's something I've kind of grown up with. And I can see you kind of nodding, going, yeah, I can recognize that's definitely one. But until I started doing this actually and writing down daily how I was making my money and bringing it in, I didn't really even count it. And then it does, you start opening up to where the money opportunities are and so on as well. So yeah, I mean, that's essentially what I do. I write down daily what I've kind of either saved on or earned. Then once a week, I will sit down with my various spreadsheets and I will make a note of all the different figures that go into the different spreadsheets. But yeah, I mean, I would say if you're kind of thinking, you know what, that sounds like a lot, that list I gave is a lot. Cash flow is really the key. I mean, we've all heard it before. Cash is king, cash is queen, whatever you want to say. I don't know whether cash is a masculine or a feminine, but cash is it basically in a business. And unfortunately, a lot of businesses fail in the first few years because they lack cash, not because they're not profitable. And this is something that I work quite a lot on with my clients that I work with, and I'm also writing a course on it at the moment actually, because people just look at the end result and they say, well, I'm going to, if I sell all 1,000 units of this, I'll be in profit. But if you don't have cash in your bank account on the day that you have to pay your supplier in order to receive the goods to be able to sell them, then you're not profitable. You're in a loss. You have to understand the flow of money essentially in your business. So it's really looking at that. And once you get into the habit of it and understand the different columns, it's not hugely complicated. It's actually incredibly empowering because you feel you can learn so much from your figures, and especially the cash flow. You can learn a lot, you can track a lot. And it's back to that story. What story is it that your cash flow is telling you? So, if I'm tracking my cash flow and I've spent out a lot of money on marketing, I would then expect to see money flow in the following month, for example, or the following 2 months. And if I don't see that, my cash flow story is telling you that I'm not necessarily focusing, it was an efficient marketing campaign, or it wasn't the right way to market my business, or do you see what I mean? So you can learn a lot. And, if, for example, your suppliers increase their costs because of, I don't know, increase in oil prices, for example, and then you put that into your cash flow and you see the corresponding increase in costs, but you don't necessarily see, your income staying level, then you might be telling yourself, okay, well, now I need to think about my pricing because my margin's gone down. It's all sorts of little things you can learn from your cash flow. But essentially, it's really just tracking a monthly flowing of money in and out of your business. It's essentially what it's looking at.
Yeah, and I think an important thing to mention is just having that habit of checking every day. I love the way that you talk about it as understanding the story, because that makes it so much more than just looking at a bunch of numbers, which can be confusing to people who aren't really good with numbers like me, even though I'm trying to change that story. I'm not bad with them, but it's not the thing that I get the most excited about doing. But actually, when you start thinking about it in terms of your story, the story of your business, then it becomes really exciting and engaging, and just coming in and checking every day, it starts to build that story, which then immediately leads to those those revelations like you're talking about, where you start making different strategic decisions. And it's just having that knowledge and not being an avoider and not, hoping that things are going to work out, and, having that feedback, that direct feedback with your cash flow.
Yeah. And I think quite often as well especially with kind of creative people and creative businesses, there's sometimes that feeling that you can't be both. You can't be good with numbers and be creative, because you feel like sometimes the numbers and the stats and so on, can kind of squash creativity. I don't know whether you ever feel like that, or
I think a lot of creatives are very resistant to authority and structure and being told they can or they can't do something. So I think, and that's why creative people are often the most resourceful, because they can pull something together despite having very limited resources. But actually, when you take that skill set and then apply it to being empowered around your finances, then it's amazing. And maths actually is a very creative thing, which is something that I've come to realize. Actually, my partner's girlfriend has she's like obsessed with maths. It's like her life passion. Like, she comes home and she does like really complex equations and like formulas, and she has like a creative passion, and you know, like a creative practice with the way that she's, you know, working out numbers and things like that, and, you know, finding creative solutions to problems, which is, you know, still something that you can apply in absolutely any field, I think.
Yeah. And I think the other thing as well is that when people, you know, you're saying kind of people don't really like the authority or kind of being told what they can and cannot do, but actually if you understand your numbers, you are in control. So you can say, actually, you know what, no, I can afford this, or this is a good investment for my business, and this is something that I want to spend money on. So even if it's, you know, it might be personal development stuff, but actually if you can go and look in your finances and say, you know what, I did some personal development stuff and invested maybe 4 months ago, and now look at the money that I brought in. So it's kind of giving yourself the authority rather than other people in the world telling you should be doing this or you should be doing this. You can say, no, you know, I know the story. I know what my money's telling me, what I can and cannot do.
Totally. I love that. And another thing I've been working on with my clients is trying to flip that mindset of like being creative with your money, of like deciding how much you want to create, you know, for whatever reason, and then asking yourself, well, how can I create that? And really really at it as a creative process in, you know, what are the action steps I can take? Who are the people I can reach out to? What are the relationships I can build to create the money that I want to be able to, you know, live my life with freedom, creative freedom, financial freedom. And a lot of that is to do with getting, you know, over obviously the emotional barriers that we have around money and thinking we have to get it this way, we have to get it that way, or like we're going to have to make these certain sacrifices. But actually really we can apply creative freedom to our financial life. But obviously there is that, you've got to have those consistent habits. I mean, it's the same with any creative practice really. For something to come to fruition, you have to be taking consistent action, being involved with it, being involved with the problem solving process, being involved with the failures, being involved with the risks. So yeah, it's really just another creative process. It's possible to think about it like that.
And I think people, the wonderful thing about the money and kind of the numbers and the stats side is it's often kind of the final frontier for a lot of people. So if they feel confident and empowered in that part of their business, it just has a huge impact on the rest of their business and their life. You know, if you feel like it's often the thing that you'll fear the most, or I'm no good with numbers, or it's such a programmed thing from when you're younger, you know, from school mathematics classes and stuff. If you can actually show yourself and feel confident that you can achieve, you know, an understanding of the finance in your business, you'll probably find that spreads into a lot of confidence in other areas as well. And it's probably the only area in a business where people are willing to say, I don't even want to know about it. You know, you'd never really say that about the branding of your business, the naming of your business, the marketing of your business. You'd never sort of step away from it as much as you'll often step away from finances.
Yeah. And of course, you know, we can always outsource once we get to that point. And there are so many apps and, you know, obviously professionals that you can get to support you with like the bookkeeping and, you know, even just tracking as well. Like there are so many apps now where you can get a card like Mint or like Monzo in the UK, and it will track all of your spending for you. And you just log on, you get these nice little like pie charts, colorful pie charts, and you can see exactly where you spend things.
It's so true. I mean, you can take the pressure out of doing the numbers, but what I would say is I would never advise anyone to walk away from the understanding of the numbers presented to you, because no bookkeeper, no accountant, nobody is going to understand your business and your vision and your goals with it as well as you would do. So you have to, you know, even if, you know, you're running a multi-million-pound company and you can get all the bookkeepers and have an entire finance department dealing with, you know, a lot of the day-to-day, I would still want to see a report on my desk, you know, every week, every day, whatever it is, so that I can look at it and go, okay, so that's what's going on in my business in terms of the underlying numbers.
Yeah, that's such a great way of looking at it. It's like, what is the story behind the numbers? I love that.
Always that.
So what are your top tips for managing your finances in your business?
Yeah, top tips. Gosh, this is why I have to be concise, and I'm not very I'm very verbose. I come up with too many. In terms of sort of, I guess, being financially savvy, I would say it's kind of the vanilla of the finance world. But I would say it's about saving initially. It's about having a separate business bank account or a separate account where you save as much money as you possibly can from freelance income, part income, full-time income, wherever it might be, business funding pot, if you like. So it's not glamorous, but for me, it's fairly essential. You know, what money can you realistically put aside on a monthly basis in order to fund your startup? Kind of the reverse of that is, as well as saving, what are you willing to cut back on? So what will you let go of in order to be able to start your business? Next one really is about tracking your finances. We've kind of talked quite a lot about this, but set aside, you know, a small amount of time, at least once a week, to review, you know, how much you're spending personally, and then what your spend has been, what money has gone out of your business and what money has come into your business in that week. So very simple figures. You don't necessarily have to do like a full cash flow, anything like that. You can literally have a piece of paper lying down the middle. One side says money in, one side says money out, and you just make a list, and then a couple of totals at the bottom, and that'll give you a real sense on a week by week basis. Am I spending more than I'm earning? Am I earning more than I'm spending? You know, that would be the thing. And then the final two, so we've got saving, we've got cut back, we've got track your finances, plan your business spend. So I think I've got a blog post actually on like the top 10 tools that I use to start my business, and a lot of them are free, to be honest. So I like to try and use, in the startup phase of people, you know, you don't have to spend out on, you know, Infusionsoft. You don't have to spend out on complicated mailing systems when you've got free ones available. You know, you don't have to spend out on, you know, complicated web design, all this kind of stuff, when you can, you know, do it slightly differently and make it cheaper. So really plan your business spend, and spend enough, but don't spend on the wrong things, I would say. So just think, is it essential or is it a nice to have at the beginning? And then finally, it's all around money mindset. So it's just being aware of the money story that you tell yourself, and being willing to kind of show up every day and work on that. And then obviously kind of getting support from, you know, money mindset coach like you as well, Sarah, so that you can really work through it, because I'm a very practical person, and I don't do a lot of the kind of, I can struggle sometimes with some of the more, what's the word I'm looking for? Out there mindset stuff. You know, I know the importance of it, but for me, the biggest difference in terms of the success of my business has been on money mindset. That's an area I would say, if you're thinking about what to focus on first in mindset, look at the money side of it, because we all have a story that we're aware of or not aware of that impacts us on a daily basis. So yeah, save, cut back, track your finances, plan your business spend, and start working on your money mindset.
Amazing. Super helpful tips. And yeah, and just coming back to the story, because it's our mindset obviously is shaping our story, and but then the figures are telling us the story of, you know, what's going on. So both things really feed into each other. You know, by being actively engaged in the figures, looking at what the story is, like that can tell us a lot about our mindset too, and the way that we're making decisions, the way that we're thinking and acting in our business and in our financial life. So yeah, the two are absolutely so important and go hand in hand, and you can't have one without the other.
It's so true, because I mean, you might track your finances in a week and see, you know, you might end up with a figure where, say, you spent £100 more in a week than you've earned. And then your reaction to that difference will reveal a lot about how your attitude to money. So if I looked at that figure and I wasn't aware of my money mindset, and probably still now, I'd be like, well, that's just awful. You know, I have to always earn more than I spend, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't think about the fact that you need to invest in yourself in order to be successful. Whereas someone who maybe has a mindset of sort of, you know, not really wanting to hold on to money and sort of getting rid of it quite quickly because they can't rely on it or whatever it might be, they might look at that figure and think, well, only £100 less, you know, I should be spending more. I've got to, you know, invest more. I've got to, you know, do you know what I mean? It's, so the same figures can invoke a different reaction in you. Yeah, you're so right there.
Absolutely. So yeah, it's just so important to understand what our own personal money story is, because it's so different for everyone, and just those little tweaks here and there can make such a big difference in, you know, the amount of cash flow and success that you create for yourself. Yeah. So do you want to just really like hammer this message home by just going into like, why is it so important to, you know, be responsible and get to a place of, get a good relationship going with our financial planning?
Yeah, it's quite hard because, you try and sort of glamorize financial planning, and a lot of people just kind of, sort of turn off and so on. But having worked with over 400 entrepreneurs and seen, small startups right up to multi-million-pound companies, products, services, online, offline, the thing that they all have in common is an underlying need to understand the numbers, because without that, you're setting yourself up almost to fail, because if you don't have the money, you don't have the money. You can't magic it. You can work to try and bring it in from other places, but if you have a bill sitting on your desk that you have to pay before they'll release your website and put it live or whatever, that bill has to be paid. So for me, businesses that fail are often the ones that aren't financially aware, and putting yourself in a position where you're setting yourself up for success rather than failure by being aware of your numbers is crucial. And I also just think it's the final frontier. Often it's the peak of the mountain. It's the thing that if you can get over it and if you can summit it, your confidence will just soar with the rest of your business.
Amazing. And what are some of the most common mistakes that you see for people who are kind of, haven't quite got a handle on the financial side? That would be, the most sort of pressing things to pay attention to and watch out for. Yeah.
I've probably kind of covered it already, but I would say spending on things you don't need to spend on. So sometimes thinking that you have to, and this kind of goes not necessarily just with money, but with everything in business. There's often this idea that there is a magic bullet, a magic formula. If I only understood this, then I will be successful. This person has a secret to success. I need to pay to understand that, or I need to follow them and understand that. Whereas actually in business, for me, it's about A, what makes sense for you, what makes sense for your customers, to B, what makes sense for your customers. And then it's about consistency. It's about showing up every day. Yes, you can pay for a course on Facebook, or you can pay for a course on Pinterest, or you can pay for a course on Instagram, whatever it might be. But unless you actually show up every day, you're not going to make inroads. And at the end of the day, there's a million ways to make money online or in person. There's millions of ways to attract customers. Your customers are on every platform. So there isn't a silver bullet. And when you're spending your money, it's good to get away from the attitude that there is a silver bullet that you need to spend on to be able to be successful.
I love that. That's great. Thank you so much for sharing all of these really amazing tips with us. And do you want to tell us a little bit more about where we can learn more about what you do and, and work with you if we need you?
Amazing. Yeah, thank you so much. I've had such a good time. I love just talking about ideas and all this kind of stuff. It's been fantastic. So if you want to find out more, I'll pop it probably in the comments as well. My website's thestartupstudio.co.uk. I've got a Facebook group, which the lovely Sarah is going to be in next week, I think. And I've got other kind of guest experts, so copywriters. I've got someone talking about kind of balance and sort of having a healthy attitude to kind of business and life as well coming in. And we talk a lot about, we do some kind of mindset work. We do coaching in there. So essentially it's a bit of a one-stop shop for working on your vision, your strategy and your mindset so you can have a successful business. So definitely check out my Facebook group. I have just launched a cash flow course. So if you're interested, there'll be details on my website. But yeah, I would say really just jump in, start taking advantage of the free resources that I've got, the free help in the Facebook group. And then if you like it and if you resonate, just kind of get in touch.
Amazing. Yeah, so please definitely leave us a link to your Facebook community. I'm going to be in there too. And any other resources or anything that you want to link to, you can pop in the
thank you
in the comments. And anyone who's watching the replay of this, if you have a question, feel free to leave it below and tag Helen or myself.
Definitely.
And definitely look forward to keeping in touch and keeping this conversation about financial planning going, because it's an important one.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And yeah, I'll definitely get to any questions that you guys have as well. Just tag me.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thanks, Sarah. Bye.